This is Jake Schwartz's play-by-play of ESPN Rise NHSI Championships, and now we're about to join Findlay Prep at our press conference. It's certainly a privilege to have, of course, with us Myck Kabongo.
All right, thanks everyone. We'll try to keep this brief. We'll start with the coach, if you want to open with a few words, and then we'll open it up to the floor for questions.
Obviously, guy that I played for and worked for a guy by the name of Les Whitkey at West Point. And he always had a good saying. He said, "You can't win a ball game in the first half, but you sure can lose one." And I think that kind of hurt us. Obviously, our first half hurt us a little bit from a shooting standpoint. We came out and shot 28%. I thought we did some good things defensively, and got to the free throw line a lot in the first half. But nonetheless, you got the game comes down to you got to put the brown thing in the round thing. You got to make shots, and we just came up a little short, but did a tremendous job in the second half of getting ourselves out of a hole and actually getting above water. But a very good basketball team in Dwyer, and you know what? They made some big shots. Brissett, kind of their key guy, he stepped up and hit some big shots, made some key plays. They capitalized on our turnovers, and unfortunately we came up a little bit short today and ran out of time.
Coach, talk about the challenge of coaching without a consistent inside presence. You couldn't go dump it down there and get you one.
Yeah, we were just talking about that as a staff today. The game has sort of changed. The days when it got away from bigs there for a stretch, maybe a decade or so, where you were going with undersized guys, more athletic, opening things up, driving it. Well, it's gotten now back to where I think size is important. One on the defensive end to help clean stuff up when on dribble penetration, but also offensively. You see it with Ohio State and Jared Sullinger. You got to honor that. You're going to have to figure out how you're going to go one-on-one. You're not going to guard him. So it does. We felt we have guys that are good in there. Unfortunately, the start of the year, those guys developed. Some injuries hindered. One of our guys, Anthony Bennett. In the beginning of the season, so he kind of came on after that halfway point to help us. But yeah, nonetheless, to answer your question, I think it's starting to show where you need that.
Coach, was this certainly a tough game? Because Mike, of course, had to leave at 7 a.m. today and fly back. Would you definitely say that if he had been a little more rested, that this could have been maybe a different game?
Yeah, I mean, Mike probably answered that better in terms of how he felt physically. I think the one thing, though, that I say that I think AAU has prepared these guys for this. They've played multiple cities, multiple games over multiple days. So it's nothing new to them to do that type of travel, but nonetheless, the grind of 30,000 plus miles that we've traveled on the tail end of our season here and coming all the way from across the country and him coming in like he did, that's tough. I mean, I know this. I couldn't have done it in my heyday. So,
Yeah.
Coach, so obviously you guys were back-to-back champs. Obviously, how did you play that coming into this game? Did you address it at all? Obviously, the other team, every other team that's not you would use that as some bit of motivation. Did you address that at all coming into it with your team?
Not really. I mean, our guys know. I mean, they know. They 3 of those returners played with guys that helped us, win it last year, and I mean, they're familiar with that, so they know. I mean, you guys put that in the media, so they read that stuff and see that. This isn't a group that we had to dangle that carrot out. They knew that. I was just more concerned with each opponent. Let's look at each opponent. What are keys that we need to focus in on, with each opponent?
Coach, a lot of hard fouls, especially in the second half, both ways. It seemed like there was some incidents that could have blown up a little bit, but both teams kept their composure. Could you comment on that a little bit?
Yeah, I made a comment, on that one hard foul on Nick where he hit the ground hard. I said, you guys, you know what that is? That's a football kid. That's a football kid doing what a competitor does. You're not going to come in the lane when a championship's on the line and think we're just going to ticky-tack touch you. Dwyer's a football power. They're more known for their football prowess than they are basketball. But nonetheless, those are some tough hombres. I mean, those kids are tough and they're physical. And to their credit, they played hard and played well.
Coach, was this huge, I guess, getting Nick Johnson with 22 today? So do you really think he was with, of course, a lot of the, tired players, I guess, but was this really big to have Nick step up today and get 22 points?
Oh, I mean, it obviously helped us, absolutely. I mean, there was a stretch in that third quarter where it's like, I kind of even yelled out to him, it's about time. It's about time, you know what I mean? That's what kind of been waiting for, So, that's what you need. Any team that's looking to win a championship, in any given night, we're fortunate that we have one of 6 or 7 guys that is capable of doing that. It just happened to be that Nick, capitalized on the opportunities that were in front of him and his teammates, you
It's
know,
kinda
were there
like
to
as
support
one
him.
door closes, another door kind of has to open.
Absolutely. Yep.
Nick, you play a lot off the ball at times in this offense, and when you get to Arizona next year, Momo is in place as point guard. Have you talked to Coach Miller or the staff at all about looking at you as a 1 or a 2 next year or going forward at Arizona?
I mean, they just say I'm a basketball player. I mean, they don't look at any position. Just put me out on the floor and I'll play.
Nick, talk about your play early third quarter. I thought you were able to trigger your team's defense and help you get back into the game.
I mean, I think it was the other way around. You know, they all huddled up and we decided we were gonna pick up full. I mean, it just gave us a push there at the beginning of the third, and we all rallied.
Nick, you were the one that was guarding Brissett for most of the game. Can you tell us what that was like on the defensive end? Describe what he was doing that was allowing him to have such success.
I mean, he's a big kid. That's all we need to see that. I mean, so when he gets you on his hip, he just keeps you there. And, you know, you gotta basically just play off him because you know he wants to go to the basket. And then, I mean, he was hitting some jumpers, so that made it tough.
What's it been like having Jerome Williams as an assistant coach, a guy who has played in the NBA for many years, certainly been described as, of course, a quote, junkyard dog. Has Jerome, I guess, and this is for the two of you, Mike and Nick, has it, or and even for you, Coach, has this been a blessing having Jerome on your staff this year?
He's done more than just coach. You know, he's been a mentor to most of us with things off the court. You know, he's helping us mature as young men. And he helps us out a lot. And obviously, I'm from Toronto, and he played in Toronto. I know as a little kid, I used to grow up watching him on TV, and I'm a big fan of his. So he has the experience of where we want to get to. You know, he's played in the NBA for multiple years, and he's been there. So whenever he talks, you know, we're all ears, and all of us just pay attention to everything he says because he has so much knowledge. And we just try and soak it all in. And it's been obviously a pleasure to have Jerome with us.
I have to say the same thing. I mean, he's just like a mentor to us. You know, he actually gets out there and practices with us sometimes. So, you know, we get to see what it's like, even as a vet. You know, an old man, he can still move.
Thank you.
Do you think in your losses this year, particularly them being a public school, maybe you took them a little lightly, or just and I know when you lost to Montrose, they had lost the night before, and that can be tough. You kind of see somebody at their worst, and do you think maybe that played into a little bit, coming out of the gate?
I don't think so. You know, I mean, as a staff, we never take teams lightly. You know, I always upplay. Our guys can tell you, I always upplay teams. You know, teams that aren't very good. You know, no disrespect, but I try to, you know, point on their strengths and what they do. And like we've always said, it doesn't matter, tall, short, fat, skinny. If you're making shots, you got a chance to be in a ball game. And you know, that's honest. You know, I mean, you look at, you know, the so to speak Cinderella teams in the NCAA. I mean, who here picked VCU and Butler to get this far? Who really did, honestly? You know what I mean? Not to say they're not capable, but they didn't. You know, a lot of people didn't. You know, I think 2 people out of over 5 million in the ESPN Challenge picked it. So we didn't. You know, how they approached it, I don't think they did. You know, knowing these guys, I don't think they took them lightly. And if you look at Dwyer's starts, their first quarters are where they separate. They kind of bully people and get a big lead, and people just kind of say, that's it, it's over in the first quarter. And then they're able to just maintain that separation without extending it. And we, I thought, did a good job of not, you know, we were up 2 at the end of the first. You know, and then we had a little slippage in the second quarter, came back in the third, and then unfortunately in the fourth they kind of took advantage of some opportunities.
You don't see a lot of guys like Brissett playing both sports and excelling, but was it unusual to have to go against a guy like that? His skill set and size?
Yeah, I mean, you know, like we watched some film on him, and like we said, you know, he might not be the quickest guy or the fastest guy or play off the ground, but he's a football kid. He's a strong kid who's got some poise to him and some maturity, and he's competitive. He can keep you on his hip, and you know what I mean. He can go 94 feet with you on his hip without losing the ball, and then the next thing you know, you're under the basket. And with a wide frame like that, a lot of times you got no choice but to foul.
Any other questions? All right. One-on-one interviews, if you want to step out.
That was, Michael Peck, Jerome, Myck Kabongo. Shortly, while we take the podium, press conference.